will graduate from SFSU in May and continue working at the Booksmith. She is read at Give Me Fiction and Write Club SF.
Okay. This might be one of those monotone stories about so, sorry. Alright. John wasn't forced out all at once. No, it was a slow and creeping thing, a collection of dust and minutes that now stretches beyond the limits of memory. Sometimes it seems that life has never been different, except he knows it must have been once because he hasn't always slept in the car. This, the transition from the house to the back seat, is the only road sign that clearly marks the border between then and now. Now he's awake and squinting into the hard morning sun, fire muted by tinted windows. He can hear his bones creaking with the effort to straighten, like they've forgotten they will always be crooked. Whether this tilt is the result of his strange bed or one of the first lyric taunts of old age, he isn't sure. Scoliosis, osteoporosis, halitosis. The taste on his tongue is rancid, a lost tide pool in a forgotten cave. The brushing will have to wait. The bathroom reached maximum capacity years ago, shortly after the downstairs hallway. The second floor filled up years before that. He slowly raises himself and opens the door. It is only when the fresh air rushes in that he becomes aware of his own rotten scent. We can get used to anything. Feebly standing beside the car, he looks up at the blue face of the house that once was his. The porch lights are still on. Helen is not yet awake. He hasn't actually seen his wife in 271 days, but he knows she is alive because each night she turns the porch lights on, and each morning she turns them off. She doesn't leave the house anymore. She does this just for him. At night he sits on the sidewalk and waits for those lights. Once in a while, she flips the switch 3 times, and he feels he can almost hear the echo of her voice, whispering his way of silence. But she hasn't done this in a long time. Who knows what she does in there all day? There's hardly any room left for her to do anything in. The sliver of a path snakes from the entrance to the 3-by-4-foot space where she sleeps each night. Every other inch of the house is occupied by the mountains. Photo albums, wardrobes, empty pizza boxes, sewing kits, everything imaginable is squeezed in, from the ceiling down to the floor. It disappeared from view so long ago, John can't remember the color of the carpet. The first morning he awoke in the car, aching and cramped. He lay there for a time, staring at the ceiling, gray, peeling, stained with rust. When he finally got out, he started walking down the sidewalk without aim, and found himself driven by the heat into the only cold public space he could find, the library. He's done this every day since. He sets out on this same journey now. When he arrives just outside the doors, he nearly collides with an ageless bum dressed in filth. The man stares at him vacantly. He has something to say. He's out of his mind. He's blind. John opens the door for him and lets him enter first. Passing through the entrance hall, John nods at the girl behind the desk. Her response, a grim pout. He can't help but notice the low cut of her sweater, the hard V of her clavicle, directing attention to the small breasts below. He realizes she can see no difference between him and the homeless man ahead. Perhaps she isn't wrong. But what she doesn't know is that she is only a reminder of another soft white chest, the one that smells of salt and silk, the one he hasn't seen in 271 days. When he first found his way here, he was intimidated, an angry housefly in an endless jungle. He hadn't been to the library in decades. The shelves seemed to sag with 1,000 years of human consciousness. He felt he might suffocate beneath that load. No choice but to begin then at the beginning. Fiction, ABE through ARK. Soon he started keeping a minute notebook of quotations. To hoard the wisdom of the ages? We all have our ways. Now he arrives at KAS through KUN and pulls the next book from his shelf. He hobbles to the stained chair in the corner, away from the magnified heat of the window. He opens the book and tries to read, but almost immediately finds it's a struggle. Even in this shaded nook, the sweat on his nose keeps his glasses perpetually sliding forward. His skin hurts. The young don't know how the skin can hurt. Imagine a hard-boiled egg after you've torn away the shell, how it must feel as you pull off that thin, clear film that encases its true surface. That is how he feels. He flips a few pages ahead and selects a clever line to write in his notebook. His attention slides in and out. When he looks up, he discovers the homeless man sitting directly across from him, his expression determined, unblinking, like a little wildcat does. John doesn't move, and the man stands, his calves shaking slightly as he approaches. There's a small piece of paper in his hand, and he reaches out to John with perfect aim. Here, he says. Here. John takes the note. It's damp with sweat and he cringes. The man returns to the other chair and John slowly unfolds a slip of paper. Just 3 numbers are scrawled on the page. Today's date. So what? John looks up at the man, who has begun to chuckle loudly, darkly. He crumples the paper and slips it into his pocket. The man's laugh grows louder, grotesque, before dissolving into a hacking croak as he gets up and walks away. John returns his attention to the book, only a little uneasy. It wasn't like this from the very beginning, though very nearly. When they were first married, he tried to gently suggest to Helen that she might clean up a bit. She would only shake her head in indiscernible motion. Her collection began with the usual junk drawers and storage closets, until it spread to cabinets and shelves. Whose house isn't cluttered? But slowly the list of items that he was told he absolutely could not throw away grew longer and longer, and like bricks they began to be stacked meticulously against the walls, then against other stacks, building a city of memory. But John allowed it. He adjusted to it. They are wrong when they talk about the response to danger as fight to flight. They do not see the third option, the true mark of our species, accommodate. In this way, they made their life together, and it was a life. It seemed to him no worse than any other. But then one night he came home to find that the full milk that had been theirs for all the years of their marriage, where they slept and dreamt and even made love below the piles of their accumulated past, had shrunk to single occupancy. He had been demoted to the status of an outer satellite, doomed to revolve from an ever-increasing distance. You might wonder why he didn't leave her then, but where should he have gone? Hours pass. As he reads, he sees the girl begin her shelving, but he won't make eye contact with her. He knows she's glaring at him, counting the minutes until the library is closed. Still, he keeps reading. Finally, he searches for an impromptu bookmark, patting lightly at each of his pockets, and discovers the note. He considers it once again. It is only the meaningless scribbling of a madman. Yet inexplicably, he feels as though he has been warned. Warned of what? Death? His own death? He might welcome it. Helen's death? He's been reading too much fiction. He uses the note to mark his page in the book. No one will check it out before he returns tomorrow. The sun is just starting to set through the western windows. It's his cue to leave. Still, the note has left an indelible impression and he grows slightly nauseous. He feels a sudden need to rush, but rushing has not been an option for what seems like centuries. He forces his sleeping legs up. For a moment, he's consumed with painful tingling like wasps stinging the back of his legs, stinging the back of his knees. His sciatic nerve burns deep at the root of his spine. Heart beating fast, he makes his way out into the darkness. He's truly unsettled now. His thoughts keep returning to the note, to the blank phone, to today's date, to Helen. In a moment, he realizes why he is nauseous. He wants to go inside his house. He wants to talk to Helen. To what? To warn him? He feels compelled. The time bomb ticks in his ears, merged with the deathly laughter of the homeless man. He finds himself at his own front door, and it's too late to decide what to say. He only knows that he will go in. The porch lights are on, and for just a moment he lingers at the edge, breathing sharply in confusion and anticipation. Slowly, he enters the house. His first step inside, and already he is packed in so tight that both arms graze the mountains beside him. When he walked out for the last time, he couldn't imagine how her collection could get any larger. There had to be a limit to what even a house could carry. But somehow there was more. She had found a way to fit more. One more step forward, and he hears a creak. Another step, another creak. And then, before he can even call out her name, he's buried beneath the mountain. There's barely enough air to breathe, and what little there is, he knows won't last long. But he doesn't struggle or try to free himself, because down here, beneath the layers and layers of their lives, he finally sees that this was always how it's going to end. He's been buried all along. The blind man is laughing, but John doesn't mind. He realizes now that he was the last piece of the indecipherable puzzle that she was drawing up around her all this time. With this final collapse, the doorway is blocked and they're both trapped. He takes a couple of forced, dusty breaths and knows that when he and Helen are finally found, they will have blended into this collection, just 2 more unimportant relics consigned to the mountains of